Um, the the way that we have this group, we call it the working group. It's a group of lawyers and judges, law professors, mediators, about 13 people, and also Norman Fisher, who is a retired Zen priest and one of the leaders of our retreats. Anyway, so we've been meeting, having monthly meetings for probably 5 years now, where we get together and we sit for about half an hour, and then we have a conversation about something, the intersection. I mean, this is the initial start of the group was the intersection of our meditation practice with our law practice, and what's the nexus there. And so we started having conversations about, we would pick a topic and maybe pay attention to that during the weeks leading up to a meeting, and then have a discussion about it, which involved a combination of sharing our personal experience and also kind of like theoretically what we thought. And so the kind of topics we would talk about are like listening and language and speech and power, and ego, isolation, hierarchy, kind of general things, but really as they apply to specifically to our lives as lawyers and legal professionals. And so what we did is we kind of crystallized our thinking. This actually was early on, and it's been refined as time's gone on, but this concept that we call the meditative perspective, which is, and so that becomes the lens that we look at things. But the meditative perspective is this idea that we would do contemplative practice. And maybe I should just define what I mean by contemplative practice, because it's a word that in some ways defies definition, but I think we've often defined it as a practice that would quiet the mind amidst the stress of everyday life. And there's actually, if you visit our website, I actually have this right here, this beautiful graphic called the Tree of Contemplative Practices, which kind of shows all these different kinds of practices that might help you kind of quiet your mind and cultivate a capacity for insight. So actually, my understanding is that this is the most popular thing on the website, this graphic here. And so contemplative practice includes things: stillness practice, movement practice, ritual practices like doing a sweat lodge or building an altar of some sort, relational practices such as deep listening or storytelling. I guess we do that at the retreats too. We practice deep listening in our small groups. We ask people to listen as a meditation, where you're really just soaking in what the other person's saying, not trying to judge or plan what you're going to say to react to, generate some kind of reaction from them, but really, can you hold the space and just listen to someone? And that's constantly, people love that at the retreats, and I love doing that, to be able to sit and talk and have people listen and be fully present for that. So that's another, you can do that, that's a contemplative practice. So anyway, back to the meditative perspective, is this concept of that you would do these contemplative practices and build some type of skills. I mean, for lawyers, that's often what they like to hear, is to having certain kinds of skills. Well, these are skills that are not taught in law school. There are with due respect to the law professors out there, there's some amazing people doing amazing stuff and teaching important kind of humanistic skills that are outside the realm of just cerebral thinking like a lawyer. But I would say, on the whole, these are things that are not taught in school. So it's developing this kind of these skills and these it's kind of beyond definition again, but just the experiences that you would have in doing a contemplative practice, the experiences you would have meditating, the insight, getting a chance to sit down and just be with your thoughts and watch them come and go, and observing, just really sitting there and being an observer. And it's kind of like, how can you take that and bring it into your work as a lawyer? And so this idea of the meditative perspective is this lens that you would have that's fostered and buttressed by the meditation practice, but then it kind of spills over into this work that we do as lawyers. And this is essentially what the mission of contemplative mind is all about, really, is enhancing this contemplative awareness within society, so within our professional lives. And we try to look at those topics that I was talking about before, and other topics, in the context of law, but through the lens of a meditative perspective. So for example, you have some type of ethical dilemma. And I don't know how many people look to the rules. Maybe sometimes you have to do that, the rules of professional responsibility. But the rules say a certain thing. They might say you have to keep a client reasonably informed about, that might be the rule about communication. Well, we would want to say, well, what would a meditative perspective say about that rule? And it certainly wouldn't diminish the rule, but it would add to that. It would think about not just society and people as rational actors and them being together, but really like cultivating that sense of you, and like where do you as an individual relate to the rule, and can you consider not just what's going to happen in terms of moving money around or something, or statutes, but what's going to happen with the on the emotional level with you and the client, and like how does that play into the rule. So things like that. So we kind of have a few points about, we've crystallized about how the meditative perspective works, and what kinds of ways it would enhance one's work. So things like wisdom and creativity. So meditative perspective helps you kind of see things as they are, not how they should be. And you can accept those things and have some spaciousness around them, and allow creative ideas to come in a way that you might not. Just the idea of sitting there and being able to not have to jump at the first thought that comes into your mind, but to like let that come into your mind, and then see what else is there. What other, is there room for more space? And that's enhanced by just sitting and watching your thoughts, and knowing about how that works. So another thing we say is focus and stability. So a meditative perspective helps you have more moment-to-moment focus on what you're doing, which could help promote empathic listening, for example, that you can actually be focused on hearing what a client has to say, or what a judge has to say, or what your colleague has to say, and being comfortable, just being present with that interaction, and not having to worry about the next argument you're going to have to make. Because I think, if we've done our work for our, preparations, we're going to know what to say. If we're, a good professional, that we don't have to be worried about that, and there's a way to kind of relax and just be in the moment, and that in turn can help make you more effective. So these are just some of the ways that the meditative perspective, we think, can enhance one's life and one's skills as a lawyer. You can be a happier lawyer.